today's video, we are playing Elden Ring, and we are going to be doing the DLC % speedrun. And for this, we're going to start with the Samurai class and use the Lands Between rune. And so for the DLC %, we're essentially starting from a fresh file and going until we beat the final boss of the DLC. So we're going to start at the Chapel of Anticipation, grab the Winzied Finger, and open the door. You can see that I did drop some stuff out of my inventory. It's just stuff that I won't need throughout the run. And here we're just going to run across this bridge. We're going to spawn in the grafted scion, but we're immediately going to jump off the side of the arena and kill ourselves just to speed things up because you have to die anyway to leave. And so after skipping the cutscene, we do get our 2 flasks for the run. And we're going to go up and open this door. And if you see me jumping on any incline, it's just because it's faster than running up it, because you do get an acceleration boost when you start the jump. And since we're landing on elevation that is higher than where we started, it ends up being faster. And then as soon as we get on the elevator, we use the Lands Between rune that we equipped, and then you see me switching around some inventory slots just for muscle memory. We then open this door and our limb grave and grab the first step grace. Then we're going to jump down here, and the reason that I attacked is because the recovery animation for attacking is faster than the recovery animation for doing the long fall, so it's just for speed purposes. So we're going to come to the Church of Ella and talk to Kale. And to this day, I have no idea why we grab these daggers, but it's what the fast people do, so it's what I'm going to do for the run. And while I'm running over to the kukris, I do want to disclose that this is not a single segment run. This is a multi-segment run where I do make save states in order to complete the run, because it is a very challenging run, but I wanted to make this video for educational purposes, just to help explain what's going on and hopefully inspire some of you to start running this game as well. So after we grab the kukris, we're going to run over here, get to the great front side of grace, and watch the cutscene that plays. So, long story short, this is Melina. She says that she notices that we have no bitches, and she needs a sugar daddy. So, we accept, and in return, she gives us a horse that does parkour. So I think that's a pretty fair trade. So after that, you see me grab the Agil Lake south side of Grace, and then I go to this merchant and grab a Frenzied Finger. Then we run into Fort Height and grab a Dectus Medallion. After that, we go into the Dragon Burnt Ruins, enter this trap chest, and head to Celia. In Celia, we grab the Rot Grease and this Grace. We then jump up and grab the Golden Seed, and then we do our first bit of horse parkour and do a trick called Celia Town Skip, where we run up this tree, and then we run up these roots. Then we run up to the Church of Plague and light the site of grace. Then when we sit down at the site of grace, Melina reminds us that she had forgot that there is a safe haven that she can take us to, and decides that now would be the best time to mention it to us. So, after hearing about the safe haven, we decide to accept, and then we go to Round Table Hold for the first time. Once we're in Round Table Hold, we're going to run over in this direction to the Twin Maiden Husks, and we're going to buy the Battle Axe and the Finger Seal. Now that we have those, we're going to warp back to Celia and grab the Somber Stone 5. Then we're going to go back to the Church of Plague and grab the Sacred Seer. Then head to Fort Faroth and grab the other half of the Dectus Medallion. So now we have the full Dectus Medallion. And then we're going to traverse the remainder of Fort Faroth because we need to grab this gold rune. And that was very close to killing me. And then we're going to grab Radagon's Source Seal because it will give us +5 to Vigor, Endurance, Strength, and Dexterity. We grab the Golden Seed over by Stormhill Shack. We complete Stormveil Skip, as you saw right there. And then we go into Liurnia and we do this jump here just to get down to the lower part of Liurnia. And then once I'm on this road, I'm going to shoot down 2 balloons because they will give me a gold rune 6. Because I'm going to need those runes later for leveling up the weapon. Ow, that hurt. Gonna run over to the Petrified Ruins and use the teleporter. And that'll take me outside of Raya Lucaria Academy. And that'll also allow us to get the South Raya Gate Site of Grace. Going to then go off to the right and jump off this right hand side of the bridge. And while running over towards the gazebo to use the teleporter to go to Iji, I'm going to use the Gold Rune 12 that we picked up in Fort Faroth. And I'm going to equip Radagon's Source Seal. We're going to run along the outside of the King's Realm ruins just so that there's little to no chance that we get hit by a stray Glintstone Pebble. There's Iji, we'll come back for him later, and we're going to light this grace so that we can warp back. Then we're going to traverse up to Bellum Church and grab another Sacred Seer. Then we're going to progress forward towards the Dectus Lift and use the 2 Gold Rune 6s from the balloons we shot down. And we're going to run off to the left because there's a Teardrop Scarab over here that will give us a Somber Stone 3. Because we're going to need that to level up our weapon later. And horse combat is not my strong suit, as you guys can see. But now that we have our Somber 3, we're now going to go up the Dectus Lift and head towards the Second Church of America for another Sacred Seer, and we're going to head towards the Magnus invasion site. Alright, so we've grabbed the Sacred Tear. Then we're going to jump up the spring. And we're going to kill this specific enemy because he drops a gold rune 10. We're going to need that later for money. We grab the blood grease from behind that broken chariot. We equipped the said blood grease. We're going to jump up here and grab a gold rune 5. And then we're going to go to the Magnus fight. So the reason that we're invading Magnus here is we needed to progress a storyline later. This fight did take me a couple tries to do because it is very RNG heavy. He has to give you the correct hits. And as you saw, I applied the blood grease, lowered him into the corner, and now we're going to give him the full Elden Ring experience and make sure that he never installs another FromSoft game ever again. And once he's dealt with, we then pop the gold rune 10. Wait until we hear that we have acquired the Somber Stone 6, and then we quit out to reset enemy aggro. Then we head back to the Agheel Lake South so that we can go to this Ever Jail to fight the Bloodhound Knight. We start with the Unsheath Heavy followed by a light attack, and then we're just kind of dodging his attacks, hit him with another Unsheath Heavy. I missed the riposte, so I gave him 2 light attacks, and now I'm just kind of dodging attacks and looking for another Unsheath window. And failing miserably. But once he's finally dealt with, we then pop the gold rune 5. We have now acquired the Bloodhound's Fang, the weapon that we're going to be using for the remainder of the run. We equip it, and then quit out, just to leave the Everjail earlier. And then we warp back to the Road to Manor site of Grace, so that we can talk to EG and level this up to level 6. We have already acquired Somber Stones 3, 5, and 6, so we only have to buy 1, 2, and 4. So now that we have 1 through 6, we can now upgrade it to level 6. After leveling it up to level 6, I now stumble through the menus and now warp to Church of Plague so that we can fight Starscourge Radahn and kill the first of 2 bosses needed to access the DLC. So right here, I'm doing a trick called Stake Skip. We're jumping over a kill plane and landing in the Wailing Dunes, which is the Starscourge Radahn boss fight arena. And since we landed in the arena and died there, there is a Stake of Marika that we can warp to, taking us back to the beginning of the fight so that we can start it properly. So at the start of the boss fight, I'm going to run directly backwards and hop on Torrent as soon as possible. And what this does is this will despawn Radahn. And then when he respawns in, he will skip the Hail of Arrows attack and just start charging towards you. I spawn in the homies. I stop here at this because it's a good landmark to stand at. And then whenever he gets close enough, I'll apply the blood grease, wait for this specific attack because it's just going to start flailing around, leaving us open to hit him 4 times and get some good blood build up. Right as he finishes, I'm going to do the Ash of War and get a bleed proc. He's going to start his transition phase, allowing me to do another Ash of War with a heavy attack follow-up. And then when I do that Ash of War with a heavy follow-up, it staggers him. And if I timed that better, it would have one-cycled him, but unfortunately it did not, so I have to deal with the second phase. The second phase is pretty easy, now with the health that he has, because he's going to immediately start doing his buff up, and that just allows us to do an easy Ash of War, the homies finish him off, and we're allowed to run straight to where the Grace is going to spawn at. And right as I get there, I'm going to pop his Remembrance. I'm going to light the Grace so that I can warp out, and we're going to warp to Round Table Hold. At Round Table Hold, we're going to level up. We're going to level up our Strength, Dexterity, and Faith. We're also going to upgrade the amount of flash charges we have. We're also going to upgrade the amount that it replenishes by. After this, we're going to talk to Enya over here by the Two Fingers, and this will pretty much move Vare from Limgrave to Liurnia so that we can talk to him, start his questline, and finish his questline. So now we're here at Vare, and we're going to talk to him to start his questline. And he gives us 5 Festering Bloody Fingers to go invade Manus with, but we've already killed Manus. So we walk out of his speech range, quit out, spawn back in, talk to him again to progress the questline now that he recognizes that Magnus is dead. And he now gives us the Lord of Blood's favor so that we have to turn it red with the blood of a noble. Once we get it, we're going to run off to the right and kill this Teardrop Scarab because we need the spell that it has. Then we're going to warp to the first step set of Grace. And now we're going to fight this Tree Sentinel because we need the golden halberd that it wields. So the golden halberd has the Ash of War Golden Vow, which gives us a damage buff and a damage negation. So that is why we raised our strength and faith, just so that we can wield the golden halberd and we can use the golden vow Ash of War. So once the Tree Sentinel is dead, we're going to warp to the Agil Lake South site of Grace, and the reason that I was waiting for so long is I was waiting for the sound cue that I had acquired the weapon. Because if I would have warped out early, it wouldn't have counted the death, and I would have had to kill him again to get the weapon. So now we're going to transition across the Bridge of Sacrifice. And we're going to kill this woman sitting over here on a rock. She is a noble woman, so she will be able to complete the quest line to turn the Lord of Favor's badge red. Now that it's turned red, we run back to Vare. And then he breaks our finger. And all of this is just for the item that we get for completing the quest line, the Pure Blood Knight's Medal, because that allows us to warp directly to Mogum Palace. That way we don't have to get the Halleck Tree medallions and go through Consecrated Snowfield. So now that we're in Mogum Palace, it is a straightforward linear path. So then we grab the Lord's Rune, we grab this Grace, because we needed to warp back in just a moment. We're going to run up this little destructed part, aim our crosshair, throw the Kukri to distract the enemies. We're going to open this chest and get the Somber Ancient Dragonstone, which is essentially the Somber 10. Warp back to the Grace we just grabbed to make it easier to get out. I always come up to the top of the steps and peek at the chest to make sure I grabbed it and that it recognized it. Then we're going to take this elevator up to the Moog boss fight. This boss fight also took me a couple tries because Moog, if he's having a bad day, he will just never give you good RNG. So at the start of the fight, I cast Golden Vow and then apply Rot Grease, because if we can apply Scarlet Rot to him, it makes his second phase so much easier. So a tip for Moog is just kind of stay as close as you can, and when he opens himself up like he did there, just give him a charged heavy, because it's easy to break his stance in a couple charged heavies from the Bloodhound Fang. I was waiting for the follow-up attack, that's why I was just standing there, because if I tried to do the attack and he does the follow-up, it's going to hit me and kill me. Fight's just pretty straightforward, just attack when he gives you the opportunities. If you stagger him, if you have the stamina, just hit him with extra hits. Now unfortunately I was not able to apply the Rot on him this time, so it's just going to make the second phase slower. And right as he starts to transition into phase 2, I recast Golden Vow. Make sure to heal before the third Nihil, and since he takes a long time transitioning, I use the full Ash of War to get good damage and a bleed proc. And then just treat phase 2 like phase 1. Damage windows are pretty much the same. They just got a little bit of flair to them. I will also say in phase 2 it is harder to get charged heavies off, so I won't go for them as much as I would in phase 1. Especially with not having Rot, I'm just kind of playing safe, knowing that it's just going to be a slow fight. And now with Moog dead, we have now killed the 2 bosses needed to access the DLC. And now we're going to run to the Withered Arm to start the DLC. I'm going to do some inventory management. And then now that we have acquired Moog's soul, we're going to use it, or his remembrance rather. Sorry, wrong game. And then we're going to head into the Realm of Shadow and start our DLC playthrough. Now that we're in the DLC, we're going to kill the pothead next to the Scorched Ruins. Then we're going to do some horse parkour to get up these headstones. This is a little difficult because these headstones aren't meant to go up, they're meant to go down. But I will leave a link to the video that I did going more in depth on this trick in particular and others that we're going to do throughout this run. We're going to run past Egon, who is very dramatically dying. Then we're going to jump down here to this site of grace because we need to grab the Shadow Tree fragment. And now we're going to do some more horse parkour. Again, I'll leave a link in the top right of the screen for more in-depth on this trick. Essentially, we're just going to scale down this cliff face. Forgot to equip the bow. Gonna do some mini parkour. And we're gonna shoot the seal open. And we're gonna ride the jump springs up to Shadow Altus. Once we get into Shadow Altus, we're gonna go over here to Morith Ruins. We're gonna kill this pothead to grab the shadow fragment that he holds. If the Curse Blade kind of sneaks up on you, just jump up this ledge. Curse Blade will follow you up. That'll give you enough time to run over, grab the shadow fragment, and then escape. We're going to come over here to Dryleaf Dane, grab the shadow fragment and the Morith Ruins site of grace. Then we're going to progress forward into this encampment and grab another shadow fragment. After that fragment, we're going to move up to the High Road Cross side of grace, grab the shadow fragment there as well. We're going to sit at this grace and we're going to level up. Going to level up Vigor, Strength, and Arcane. We're also going to raise our Shadow Blessing to level 2 for more damage. And then we're going to equip the Blood Flame Blade spell that we got from the Teardrop Scarab in Liurnia. We're then going to kill this Teardrop Scarab for the Somber 8. Go into the Forge to get the Somber 7. Grab the Shadow Fragment over at the Church America. Do some more horse parkour outside of Morith Ruins. Go past the backside of Bonnie Village and jump on this rock to get on the bridge that leads out of the village. And then pretty much we're going to follow the path straight that leads us all the way to the Shadow Keep Church District. We're going to throw the Kukri to distract this Fire Sage. Gonna run past him and get on this statue. Just grab the fragment. That jump is very critical to make because if you touch that water at all, it's an instant kill box. We're going to run straight to this elevator, and then we're going to use that Lord rune that we picked up back in Mogwin Palace. Equip the Golden Horn Tender because we're going to need that later for more runes. We're going to grab the Somber 9 off the body as soon as we make it right. Then we're going to grab this Site of Grace. Then we're going to warp all the way back to Rhodes Manor. And we're going to level up the Bloodhound's Fang to level 10. Now with somber smithing stone weapons like the Bloodhound's Fang, level 10 is the maximum level, so now we're going to deal the maximum amount of damage that this weapon can do. After that, we're just going to return and go straight to the Ruins of Rao. It is a very linear path, that's why I didn't show it. We're going to do that horse parkour that you saw, and then we're going to run in, make a left. Going to kill this pothead for another shadow fragment, and another golden horn tender. Then we're going to do another little bit of horse parkour. I need to align my right foot up with that circular divot in the rock. Need to make sure that my head is in between those two V-shaped looking branches. Once I'm lined up, I'm going to summon Torrent, sprint off the ledge, land on that collision so that it breaks my momentum, and then I fall off it again so that I can make it without dying. I then grab the shadow fragment at that site of grace, grab the shadow fragment a little bit further down. This is a fully linear path, that's why I'm not showing much of it. Light the site of grace outside of Romina, and then we're back to the storehouse. Once we're back at the storehouse, we're now going to go up this ladder. Going to go around the bookshelf, out this hole in the wall. Up these makeshift steps, and find another site of grace. From this site of grace, we're going to head over there to that ledge, and we're going to do a little bit of parkour, and I'm going to try to land on that statue. I jumped a little too far, so I am going to have to quit out to reset my stance back on that bookshelf. Once I reposition, I jump off. Second time's the charm. I land on the hand, jump down, land on the back of the neck, jump off the head, and grab the shadow fragment. I then warp right back to the loft. And now I'm going to take the elevator up. We're going to traverse the scaffolding, following the same path I do. Going to walk off the ledge, immediately make a left to land here, and then fall down. Then we're going to switch to the bow. Walk up to this first stand to get the fire sage to start its pathing. Throw our last kukri at that one to distract it. And then we can just crouch sprint right past them and they'll never know we existed. Just make sure to uncrouch so that you can open the door. I just keep looking back to make sure that they don't know we exist. We're going to grab another shadow fragment, and then we're going to light the grace for the Mesmer boss fight. Now that I have this grace lit, I'm going to warp back to the High Road Cross. Alright. And now that I'm here, I can talk to the Horn Scent. And then just talk to him until he mentions Mesmer by name. And then we can warp back to the Mesmer boss fight. Then we're going to sit at the grace and level up our blessing to level 7. Because that gives us more damage and we take less damage. So more damage is more gooder, as the famous Bushy would say. So now we go up to the door and we're going to enter the boss fight and then immediately quit out. That is intentional, reason being now positions us at the very front instead of the middle, and it also messes with the AI a little bit, giving us a chance to spawn in the horn scent. We spawn in the horn scent to fight alongside Mesmer, because if he fights us against Mesmer, he won't fight against us later in the DLC. So trick with Mesmer is just staying close to him, avoiding his attacks, then just doing light attack follow-ups. Very rarely can you do charged heavies. Once we start the second phase, I recast Blood Flame Blade to make sure it's going on and gives us a higher chance to get a bleed proc. And phase 2 is mainly just about playing safe, knowing your dodge timings, and then just punishing when applicable. Alright, and now with Mesmer dead, we're going to pop our Golden Horn Tender so that we can acquire more runes. Wait for him to die so we can get his remembrance. Immediately pop his remembrance so that we can get more runes from it. And then we're going to quit out so that Horn Scent can quit yapping. We're not going to talk to Horn Scent and exhaust his dialogue, just so that he won't spawn in against us later in the DLC. Now we're going to go to the Church of the Bud, and we're going to fight the next boss in line, Romina. But before we do that, we're going to sit down here, use all those bonus runes we acquired from Mesmer. We're going to level up our dexterity. This fight did take me a couple tries because this is one of the slower fights in the DLC. It's not a very hard fight, it's just slower than most. The major thing with Romina is, since it is a slower fight, you're going to tend to want to get greedy. It's just trying not to get greedy. And now that we've entered phase 2, she's going to start spawning all these Scarlet Rot butterflies. You just gotta find the pockets that they're not in. But other than that, it's same dodge timings as phase 1, same attack windows, etc. Another tip against her is just trying to keep Bloodflame Blade as active as you can at all times, just so that it gives you the best chance to get bleed procs to make the fight go faster. And now with Ramina dead, similar to Mesmer, we're going to pop the Golden Horn Tender to get more runes, and then immediately pop her Remembrance as soon as we get it. Now we're going to run up to the Sealing Tree and burn the Sealing Tree with Mesmer's Kindling so that we can access Indira Limb and access the ending of the game, or the DLC rather. Now, Indira Limb for new runners and experienced runners is going to be renamed to Reset City, because it's pretty BS how often you will die to just stuff that's out of your control. But before we get there, we're just going to level up Strength and Endurance. Then we're going to make our way into Reset City. There's going to be this Horned Warrior. Just try to dodge his attacks. I nearly die there. So instead of just continuing to run forward, I'm going to hop up here and grab this little safety grace. So heal myself for free and to reset him. That'd be another tip for newer runners, is just grab as many safety graces as you can in a near a limb. I drop a weapon to grab an extra chest plate just so that I can be as safe as possible running through this. You can pretty much just run past him and he will have little to no effect on you. And now this is kind of where the BS kicks in. You're just hoping that he doesn't put one right under you. I wanted to get a backstab, but unfortunately I didn't get it. And right after you kill the first guy, you immediately quit out. That drops all enemy aggro. And it all immediately puts you in a safe zone once you spawn back in. Giving you another second to like breathe, regain your bearings, heal like I do. And then you're just kind of mad dashing up this second staircase, hoping that, again, he just doesn't put one at your feet and just kind of kill you when it's out of your control. Thank God there's iframes when you're opening doors. And grab the Shadow Fragment and the Grace. So now we're outside, and then we have to deal with these birds. And these birds, if they feel like it, they can just be the most unluckiest things ever. And they can just spam you with that circular attack, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Thankfully, they were playing nice today. I took an extra second to heal to make sure I was at full health, because anything and everything can kill you in just a couple hits, so I want to give myself the best chance to survive. Then there's Frostbite Boy, who's going to stomp, but thankfully I was able to outrun it. And I was able to get through the hardest part of that first try. Running past those guys is pretty trivial. You just run past them. I hug the left wall because there is a projectile they can shoot at you, so I just want to make sure it hits the wall and does not hit me. This guy, you just kind of want to run straight at him. He's going to summon a tornado. Just try to roll past it. And then just try to outroll every attack he does. And then here, like I mentioned earlier, just jumping to get up an incline faster. It really helps when running away from enemies. Thankfully I didn't have to quit out here. I had outrun him enough to where I was able to sit at the Grace before it recognized that he was too close and disabled it. And then grab the next Shadow Fragment. And that's actually the last one we're going to grab for the run. And then set myself up for the next boss fight. And then once you walk in there and Letta starts talking, you can walk away. Walk out of her speech range, which is over here. And then once her dialogue disappears, you can walk up and the boss fight's just ready. It just skips about a minute of talking. This fight is probably the hardest boss fight in the run, in my opinion. It's very RNG heavy for the way that I approach it. You just have to hope that Dane plays nice and stands still, and then when Letta spawns in while you're killing Dane, she doesn't immediately charge you, because with the endurance that you're at, you can't roll immediately, so if she immediately charges you, it's just insta-death. But we do our buffing ritual. Dane spawns in, and we're just gonna hit him with an Ash of War him. We're not gonna do any follow-ups. We're just gonna do Ash of War. Anytime he tries to do Golden Vow, let him have it for a couple seconds to get your endurance back to full. But once you get him to about half, Letta's gonna spawn in, and that's when you're gonna want to do the Ash of War follow-up, because he's gonna want to try to drink once he gets to half health. And if he drinks, he's gonna regain to full, so you want to try and stop him. And then once you have Letta, she's pretty easy by herself because your attack range is longer than hers, so she has to walk into your attack range to hit you. So once you use the weapon enough, you get pretty comfortable with the attack range, you know it pretty well, and you're just going to be able to outrange her. Once the Sanguine Noble spawns in, I just let him take the brunt of the aggro, because she can kill me in a couple hits, and I don't want to get hit by a couple strays and die. So you see me just like backing off, playing at the edge of my range, and just using the Ash of War just to poke. And I just let the Sanguine Noble just face tank it. And like sometimes I just play too far and I miss. I'm just trying not to catch any strays from Letta. And I'm just trying to help the Sanguine Noble out when I can. Oh yeah, you saw that she changed her aggro mid-swing. That was just almost not good. But, alas, Noble knocked her out. We finish that fight, we get her sword. Afterwards, we take the elevator up, and then we're at the final Grace, right before the final boss fight. Level up our Shadow Fragment one last time. Level up one last time, just put everything into damage. And now we're going to fight the final boss. This is your final spoiler warning if you haven't seen it. We're going to do our buffing rituals, and for this boss fight, we are going to utilize parries. I have made a video for that. If you are new to parrying Radahn, or if you're just not comfortable enough, I will leave a link to that in the upper right hand corner. I did make a full guide for it. And for this, it's just parry and hit. 3 parries to get a stun. Yeah, this fight took me a number of tries because if he does that slash attack, 9 times out of 10 it's going to kill you. Luckily this was the one time it didn't. And you're just looking to parry every opportunity you can and punish him for it. Second phase, parry timings are the exact same. Now he's going to just try and do this grab attack. And it just gives you more opportunities to hit him, get your bleed build up. Alright, he's going to T-pose on me, so that gives me the perfect opportunity to recast Blood Flame Blade. Alright, for this meteor attack, you just essentially run to the open portion of the arena, wait for him to crash down, and when you hear that final explosion, I recast all my buffs. I didn't have enough time to re-put Blood Flame Blade back on, so I'm just kinda hoping that my damage is enough. But I did get the one on that gives me more damage. And with that, Radahn is dead. Now to end the run, we have to run over here and touch this memory and watch the cutscene. We immediately skip it. And then once we get the circlet of light, we quit out, and that is time. That is Elden Ring's DLC % speedrun in 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 40 seconds. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.